Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to think about society as like a massive, complex skyscraper? On the surface, you just see the bustling activity, the shiny exterior, the sheer scale of the whole thing. But what's actually keeping it from collapsing under its own weight? Well, it's held up by very specific invisible pillars, what sociologists call social institutions. Today, we're going to examine the absolute foundations of these institutions, and we'll be looking specifically through the vibrant, deeply complex lens of India. Let's dive right into it.
1.4 billion. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. That is the population of India today. It's a staggering, almost incomprehensible figure. We are literally talking about thousands of distinct communities, hundreds of languages, and incredibly diverse belief systems, all sharing one single geographical space. So, what invisible forces prevent a massive, hyperdiverse society of 1.4 billion people from just descending into absolute chaos? How do people know how to behave, who to support, or even just how to organize their daily lives? Well, that is exactly what we're going to uncover.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The intimate pillars. 2. The societal pillars. 3. Types of societies. And 4. The changing Indian society.
All right, starting off with section 1, the intimate pillars. This covers family, marriage, and kinship. The first real foundational pillar here is marriage, or in Hindi, viva. Now, we usually just think of marriage as this big romantic union, right? But structurally speaking, it's actually a mechanism. The sociologist Talcott Parsons viewed it through a highly functionalist lens. To him, it's practically designed to regulate the division of labor, provide a stable environment to socialize kids, and crucially, ensure the emotional stability of adult personalities. It's essentially a formal social contract that brings fundamental order to human reproduction and partnership. But obviously, this mechanism does not look the exact same everywhere. There is a rich taxonomy of marriage globally and definitely within India. You have monogamy, which is just one partner, and that's legally mandated in most modern societies. It's what we see most often today. But historically and culturally, we also see polygamy, and that actually splits into two distinct practices. Polygamy, where you have one man with multiple wives, and polyandry, which is one woman with multiple husbands, a practice you can still see in specific geographical pockets. We also categorize marriages by how they're formed. You've got traditional arranged marriages, which are carefully facilitated by extended families. Then you have individualized love marriages, based entirely on romantic choice. And increasingly, we're seeing the recognition and discussion of same-sex marriages. These categories aren't random at all, they're deeply influenced by society's economic needs, its cultural traditions, and modern legal shifts.
Which brings us directly to the institution that marriage traditionally creates, the family, or parivar. Emil Durkheim, one of the founding fathers of sociology, defined the family as the ultimate engine for human socialization. It is the primary, essential context where a child learns the cultural norms, the values, and the social skills they need to function in the broader world. It's also an economic unit and a vital source of emotional support and caregiving. Honestly, without this baseline unit, society would have to construct a completely different, highly complex way to raise and integrate its new members.
Branching out from the family, we hit kinship, or rishtedori. Kinship represents the invisible web that binds communities together, and it is remarkably specific. It isn't just one blanket thing. It's consanguineal, meaning your direct blood relatives. It's affinal, the relatives you gain through marriage, like your in-laws, who suddenly become a major, undeniable part of your daily world. It can even be fictive. Think of that close family friend you've affectionately called uncle or auntie your whole life, despite having zero blood relation. You also have lineal kinship connecting you directly backward to your ancestors and forward to your descendants. And then there's collateral kinship, which branches out horizontally to your aunts, uncles, and cousins. In a society like India, this terminology is vast and highly specific, and it often dictates your social identity, your inheritance, and your lifelong communal obligations.
Moving on to section 2, the societal pillars. We're zooming out to look at religion, education, and politics.
First up is religion, or dharam. Now, sociologists look at religion not to debate theology, but to understand its concrete function in society. And there are some pretty heavy competing historical perspectives here. Take Karl Marx. He viewed religion through what is called conflict theory. Marx famously argued that religion acts as an instrument for the powerful to maintain control over the working class. In his view, it masks the suffering of the poor by promising a better afterlife, thereby preventing them from rising up and demanding change in their present social and economic order.
But on the flip side, we have Emil Durkheim, who offers a starkly different, functionalist perspective. Durkheim saw religion as the ultimate social glue.
He argued that shared beliefs, sacred symbols, and communal rituals create a strong collective consciousness. When people gather for a massive festival, a quiet prayer, or a regional celebration, they aren't just worshiping. They are actively reaffirming their social bonds. They are building social cohesion and establishing a shared moral compass that keeps the community united, especially through difficult times.
Our next macro-level societal pillar is education, or shiksha. This is the highly structured process of transmitting culture, critical skills, and values from one generation to the next. Formal education is typically stepped. You have primary education focusing on basic literacy and numeracy. Then secondary education introduces advanced subjects and preps students for the workforce or higher learning. And finally, tertiary education, which involves college and specialized research. But beyond just teaching facts and equations, education acts as a massive, transformative tool for social mobility. It's the primary engine that allows individuals to transcend the socioeconomic class they were born into and climb the economic ladder. At the same time, it serves a function of social control, systematically teaching us the acceptable norms, the punctuality, and the rules of the wider society we're about to enter.
Finally, we reach the ultimate pillar of societal order, politics, or Rajniti. Sociologically speaking, politics has this really fascinating dual nature. On one hand, it's heavily about power and authority. You know, who actually gets to make the rules, how power is acquired through elections or force, and the grand ideological struggles between different groups. But on the other hand, it's the highly practical, day-to-day execution of governance and public policy. It's the management of vast resources, the building of essential infrastructure, and the maintenance of laws that allow a massive society to function smoothly without collapsing into total anarchy.
When we apply this framework to India, we see a highly specific and complex political reality. India operates as the world's largest democracy, with a federal structure, meaning power is strictly divided between a central government and individual states. It features an incredibly robust multi-party system. Crucially, Indian politics is deeply intertwined with its underlying social fabric. Intricate dynamics of caste, religion, and intense regional diversity play a massive role in shaping electoral behavior. And to address historical inequalities, the framework also includes a vast reservation system, which provides affirmative action in both education and politics for historically marginalized groups.
All right, part 3, societal types and the winds of change.
It's wild to see how the actual environment entirely alters the architecture of these institutions we've been discussing. Sociologists generally classify societies into 3 main types. In rural societies, the economy is heavily agricultural, relationships are deeply close-knit and kinship-based, and long-standing tradition rules daily life. In urban societies, the economy is industrial or service-based. Life here is highly dense, yet relationships are often much more impersonal, transactional, and individualistic. Then you have tribal societies, often indigenous communities living in closer harmony with nature, governed by highly specific cultural traditions and incredibly strong kinship bonds. The pillar of family naturally looks and operates very differently in an urban high-rise compared to a rural farming village.
And right now, across all these varied environments, massive structural shifts are currently occurring. Take marriage. We're witnessing a profound cultural and technological shift from traditional arranged marriages, which are heavily guided by extended family and social class considerations, toward individualized love marriages. Globalization and westernization have introduced entirely new ideals of romantic compatibility. Add modern technology to the mix, like global dating apps and highly specific matrimony websites, and individuals now have unprecedented autonomy to search for partners far, far beyond their immediate geographic or traditional social circles.
Naturally, this shift directly impacts the family structure too. Historically, the traditional Indian ideal was the joint family, multiple generations living under one roof, sharing economic resources, and dividing caregiving duties. Today, driven by rapid urbanization, massive internal migration for corporate jobs, and a significant welcomed increase in female workforce participation, there is a monumental rise in the nuclear family, just parents and children. We are also seeing a growing, visible acceptance of alternative setups, like single-parent families and blended families, which is fundamentally altering everyday gender roles and household dynamics across the entire country.
Furthermore, the very timeline of an individual's life is stretching out. With a much greater cultural emphasis on attaining higher education and establishing solid career stability for both men and women, people are intentionally delaying marriage and childbearing.
This isn't just a minor demographic blip, folks. It is deeply reshaping the expectations placed on these traditional institutions. The timeline of when you were supposed to hit certain life milestones is being entirely rewritten by the modern economy.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, that leaves us with a pretty profound question to ponder. We've seen the foundational pillars, from the intimate web of kinship all the way up to the vastness of political governance. But as the relentless winds of urbanization, digital technology, and globalization blow stronger than ever, can our traditional institutions survive in their current form? Or will they adapt so much in the coming decades that they become entirely unrecognizable? Think about your own family, your community, your society. How are those invisible pillars shifting around you right now? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious.